Am I wrong for locking my teenage girl's door while her uncle is visiting? Story. My brother-in-law, Sammy, lost his home shortly after his divorce 10 months ago. He moved in with us and brought his twin daughters, Olivia and Sloane, 18, with him a couple of months ago. His sister, my wife, and I have one daughter, Zoe, 16, and she and her cousins aren't close but get along fine. Olivia and Sloane have no respect for Zoe's privacy, none. They used to walk into her room and take everything they got their hands on. Makeup, phone accessories, clothes, school laptop, etc. Zoe complained a lot, and I've already asked the girls to respect Zoe's privacy and stop taking things. My wife and Sammy saw no issue with this. After all, they're girls, and this is typically teenage girls' behavior. I completely disagreed. The last straw was when Zoe bought a $60 MAC makeup kit that looks like a paint set that she saved up for over a month, and one of the girls, Sloane, took it without permission and ruined it by mixing shades together while using it. Don't know much about makeup, but that's what Zoe said when she found the kit on her bed and was crying. I told my wife, and she said she'd ask Sloane to apologize, but I got Zoe a lock after I found she was moving valuable belongings out of the house because of this incident. Sammy and his daughters saw the lock and weren't happy. The girls were extremely upset. Sammy asked about it, and I straight up told him. He said my daughters aren't thieves. It's normal that girls of the same age borrow each other's stuff. He said Zoe could easily get another makeup kit for $15 from Walmart and shouldn't even be buying expensive adult makeup in the first place, and suggested my wife take care of this defect in Zoe's personality, trying to appear older than she is. He accused me of being overprotective and babying Zoe with this level of enablement. I told him that's between me and my wife, but she shamed me for putting a lock on Zoe's door for her cousins to see and preventing them from spending time with her, saying I was supposed to treat them like daughters, then demanded I remove it, but I said this lock does not get removed till her brother and his daughters are out of our house. She got mad. I was implying we kicked them out and said her family would hate me for this. So I reminded her that I let Sammy and his family move in, which is something her own family refused to do. So she should start with shaming, blaming them for not taking their own son and niece's granddaughters in. If it wasn't for her family's unwillingness to help, we wouldn't be dealing with this much disturbance at home. Everyone's been giving me and Zoe silent treatment, and my wife is very much upset over this. Response 1, not the a-hole. Don't back down. You are the only one sticking up for Zoe. If her cousins want to use expensive makeup, give them your wife's. I guarantee she won't appreciate sharing anymore. They need to start behaving like appreciative guests. Reply 1. I love this idea. Not the a-hole, OP. You have your daughter's back and totally get her need for privacy and autonomy over her stuff. I'm disgusted that her own mother isn't more supportive. Please lend some of the mother's makeup to the twins, because obviously it's what girls do, isn't it? They love to borrow and use each other's stuff without asking. Not. Reply 2. Bonus if OP goes into Sammy's room to borrow things without asking. Underwear, an expensive watch, or something. Returning it with visible wear and tear. Nutella would be my friend for his favorite pants. Reply 3. My sister would do this all the time when we were teenagers, and my parents always told me to work it out ourselves. I felt helpless to do anything because I couldn't always be there to stop her, and it was infuriating. My dad got me a lock, and it really made me feel like he recognized my frustrations and supported me. This dude is doing a great service to his daughter. A teen needs privacy and security, especially when they felt powerless in their own home. Reply 4. This. It also bothers me that Sammy dared to call Zoe defective when his kids were taking and ruining other people's property. I have friends that I'm so close to we will go to each other's gyno appointments to give support if need be. No way in hell am I messing with their makeup without permission. My closest friends are twins, and they don't even mess with each other's makeup without asking. Reply 5. Honestly, those two girls were taking extremely expensive stuff to begin with. A school laptop? And OP didn't call them thieves, but if the glove fits. I'm a twin too, but I don't go stealing my twin stuff, unless it's snacks, but that's a mutual thing. LOL. I honestly feel like the makeup, while seemingly not as big or expensive as the other things, was just the straw that broke the camel's back. OP, if they never return the items they took, you could ask for reimbursement or start charging them rent if they aren't paying rent already. I would also ask your wife if her supporting her brother and his daughters with them stealing and harming your daughter's things is worth the strain on her and your daughter's relationship. Tell her that not backing her up and making excuses for horrible behavior will make her feel unsafe in her own home and not cared for by her mother. This is some relationship-ruining stuff because teenagers need privacy and want to know they are safe in their own homes. And OP is being generous if they are taking stuff and not giving it back, because he could have easily called the cops on the adult twins and said they are stealing from his minor daughter, not to mention your wife backing up her brother after the hurtful comments. OP, you need to talk to your daughter and also let her know if her mother says anything that makes her upset, she can come to you and trust you. You are the only one she has. Response 2. Not the a-hole. Your wife harbors someone who tells you that Zoe has a defect in her personality for buying an expensive makeup kit. That's the kind of thing that has people thinking about divorce. Reply 1. Exactly. As a mother myself, I cannot fathom how any mother would let someone treat their child like that, even if it is family. That would have bought them a one-way ticket right out of my front door. If your kid can't count on you to protect them, who can they count on? Not the a-hole. Reply 2. As a parent, I know I can't stop the world from saying bad things about my children. It breaks my heart, but to a certain extent, you have to allow it to happen, so they learn how to overcome it without being destroyed. But the idea of not only giving that person a home, but defending them and then attacking the character of the only person on their side is appalling to me. Mom gets no slack cut from me on this one. She should be ashamed of herself. Good on OP, not the a-hole. Reply 3. I have someone living with me, a very close friend, and he said my 3-year-old was Damien and defective because he was running around like a madman playing. I very quickly got upset and told him not to ever call my son anything but his name ever again, or he'd be living under a bridge. You're right, as a parent you can't stop people from saying hurtful things, and you can't protect them from everything, but I can protect him in his own home, and make sure the people around him who care aren't filling his head with garbage like that. Being a parent is tough, but I couldn't imagine not sticking up for my own kids. Reply 4. Exactly. OP has one job, and that's to protect his daughter. Everyone else in this situation is an adult or has someone else protecting them. If she doesn't feel safe in her own home, OP has a right and responsibility to get her out of that situation. I wouldn't go straight for divorce here, but it would be a wake-up call for everyone involved if OP and his daughter moved out of the house for a little while. He can charge rent if money is an issue, but either way, his first priority needs to be getting her out of that situation. Of course, the ideal would be getting the brother to move out, but it sounds like that's not the real issue anymore. This fight will continue long after the brother is gone. It's about trust now. OP can't trust his wife to keep his daughter safe, and that's not going to change if the brother and his kids are no longer a threat. There will be other threats. Reply 5. It totally baffles me how some families allow certain types of behavior amongst themselves. How OP's wife tolerate her brother talking about his daughter like that, or talking to her husband like this is his house. OP is offering a huge favor and service to this brother-in-law, something other close family don't seem willing to do, and yet he has the audacity to talk that way about him or his daughter. I don't understand so many people anymore. Entitled a-holes is a basic description for them. A child's room in their parents' house is their safe space. It should be sacred and a place they know they can create their own boundaries. Having a parent crap on that for the sake of her brother's feelings is depressing. This girl will grow to know mommy doesn't have her back or care about her feelings. At least daddy, OP, has some common sense in this regard. Fair play to that guy. Response 3. Not the a-hole. Your daughter doesn't feel like she has any privacy or respect in her own home, and you gave her a lock to give her back her privacy. You tried talking to your wife, your BIL, and your nieces, and that got you nowhere. If your daughter has to accept 3 additional adults living in her home, they need to accept her very reasonable boundaries of not taking and ruining her things. Good for you for showing your daughter you respect and support her. Reply 1. They are 18. This is 100% vindictive. Mixing and destroying a new palette and leaving it on Zoe's bed screams of malice. Reply 2. Oh, I 100% agree. Plus, it's disgusting. Do not share eye makeup with other people. Gah. Bet they are also using the same brushes, not cleaning them. Gross. It's not just about taking something Zoe saved up for and destroying it. They could have given Zoe an eye infection. Reply 3. The way the OP described how the colors were ruined, I can take a pretty good guess it was probably a face or lip palette, most likely cream, because eyeshadow would be an easy fix. If it is cream, which it probably is, there's no fixing those colors once you mix them in the palette. I'm pretty positive it's a lip palette or some sort of cream pro palette from MAC. Either way, a very expensive and high quality product that I wouldn't even touch with the decent makeup skills I have as an adult. Reply 4. Good point. I see palettes and think eyeshadow, but yeah, I even own more than one non-eye palette. I just assumed. LOL. Still gross using anyone's makeup without sanitizing it, which I doubt the cousins did. I may share a powder blush or powder highlighter with my sister or a friend with their own clean brushes, but even cream face products or any lip products are not shareable, IMO. Or Zoe may not know how to fix a powder product that got messed up. If it is powder, maybe some YouTube videos could help her fix it. Or it's just ruined in her eyes, even if it is fixable, because she saved up and bought something nice for herself and her cousins thoughtlessly gunked it up. Response 4. Not the a-hole. My daughters aren't thieves. It's normal that girls of the same age borrow each other's stuff. His daughters are in fact thieves because there's a thin line between stealing and borrowing, and that is our bestie, consent. His daughters don't ask yours for permission on whether they can take something from her or not. They help themselves into her room, into her cabinet's closet, take whatever they feel entitled to, use it however they want, even if they destroy it. And then, if so, your daughter might see the object they stole from her again. You are being an amazing parent, and Zoe will forever be grateful for having her back the way a parent should. Whereas your wife, I don't know if it's the fact that those are her brother's daughters, or if she just doesn't care about people getting through to her daughter at whatever cost, just to steal her property and damage it. Also, it's funny how it went from my daughters aren't thieves to my daughters just want to spend time with yours, and now they aren't allowed to do so. Reply 1. I have no patience for people like this. I flat out would have told their parents, borrowing without permission is theft. Your daughters are thieves. Locks are used to protect against thieves. The lock stays. Reply 2. Exactly what I thought. If Zoe didn't give consent, it's stealing, and her mother is teaching her that she's worthless and that her own needs for privacy, boundaries, and respect are just as worthless as she is. If her mother doesn't change radically, this poor girl will end up in an abusive relationship, being treated like crap because in her mind, she isn't worth any more than this, and she has no mother on her side to protect her. I can even imagine as a girl, because I experienced it myself like so many other women out there, being pressured to have sex or something sexual and not wanting it and being forced to. A person with no self-esteem will let it happen and will keep silent because in her mind there was no support and she's worth nothing anyway. The damage this mother is doing is truly huge. Reply 3. My parents have this recurring issue with my dad and his sister, very similar to OP's wife's situation with their sibling getting in the middle of everything. It's hard to realize how wrong the sibling is, and once you do, apparently it's hard to take your SO's side. I think OP's wife means well, but this is clearly something that puts her in the middle. I don't think she realizes how the situation really is. Not the a-hole for sure. Good for OP for backing up their daughter. Response 5. Not the a-hole. Sammy sounds like he is spoiling his daughters and justifying their actions by blaming the victim, Zoe. Kicking them out may be a good idea at this point. Reply 1. Not even spoiling his daughters. Spoiling means Sammy would buy them stuff. It's probably the opposite. He's instead telling them to take crap that doesn't belong to them, that he's not wanting to buy for them, and is blaming the victim instead of buying his daughters their own stuff. Freeloading would be a better word. Reply 2. There's no may about it. They need to be gone ASAP. They are 3 adults, and in 10 months, they could scrape together enough between them to rent their own place. BS, these people are parasites. Response 6. Not the a-hole. Good for you for standing up for your daughter. The lock should stay. There would be no need for it except that the girls are thieves. The adult girls should pay their daughters back for the makeup. She saved it, they stole it. Time for the rest of the family to take a turn at helping the brother-in-law out. Reply 1. 100% demand repayment for the makeup. Reply 2. No Walmart crap either. I've never worn makeup a day in my life, and even I can tell you there's a difference between MAC and drugstore brands. Reply 3. If I could swing $60, I would probably replace it out of pocket. She saved for it, she should have it. Dad's got her back, but trying to extract petty cash from the house guests is just not worth the fight. Response 7. Not the a-hole. And why the heck are you supposed to treat them like daughters? They have their dad with them. Reply 1. Or take the wife on her word and treat them like his daughters. Set a standard for them and discipline them when they break the rules. See how quickly they become not your daughters, you're overstepping. How would OP treat one of his adult kids if they repeatedly stole from his other kids? Throw them out, perhaps? Or start charging them rent and increase it to pay for damages and stolen items? No treats or privileges in the house until they improve their behavior? Loads of fun stuff you could do. Reply 2. One could say that by calling them out, he is being a better parent to them than his brother-in-law is. Reply 3. Not to mention he is putting a roof over their heads, which is more than their own dad is doing. Reply 4. I think it's more the idea to treat them like a part of the family and that they feel welcome than anything else. It's a bit of hospitality, but said hospitality is revoked when boundaries are violated. Similar things happened when my cousin's family stayed with us for a year. They were very nice and kind, but the parents had certain habits that my parents didn't approve of, so they had me and my brother maintain distance in certain things because we weren't aware that we were being taken advantage of. Response 8. Not the a-hole. But wow, I'm shocked that your wife cares more about appearances and her brother or nieces than her own daughter. Giving her own child the silent treatment, that's just insane to me. And don't think your daughter hasn't noticed that her mother isn't on her side. That's gotta hurt. Your wife needs to wake up. Reply 1. Yeah, this situation screams needs couples therapy here because of the wife. Reply 2. It honestly screams, I'm not her real mother, I married into this. Even though from what I've read that isn't the case. It's that disgusting behavior that is just unacceptable. His wife clearly has some power dynamic with her brother in which she can't think rationally. If a father is specifically buying a lock for his daughter just to make her feel safe in her own home, reply 3. Until she sticks up for her daughter, it seems like the wife has basically destroyed her relationship with the daughter at this point. If I were her, I would be moving out as soon as possible and then only having contact with my dad, as it seems like my mom has chosen thieves over her own child. Response 9. Not the a-hole. As someone who had a family friend move into our house temporarily when I was in middle school, you did the right thing. The family friend who moved in with us was only supposed to be there temporarily until he got himself an apartment. Lived with us for 4 years. He only moved out because my parents eventually separated and divorced while he was still living with us. So for the last 4 years that my family was a family, we had some guy, who my sister and I didn't even like, live in our home. Do yourself and your family a favor and give them a timeline that they have to move out by, or you will be taken advantage of and it might ruin your marriage. Reply 1. That must have been awful. I'm not a girl, but I hated strangers, if you know what I mean. People who aren't your immediate family, being around for more than a few days. It stressed me out. Reply 2. I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, this incident alone has already started a rift between them, especially with this whole silent treatment business. It is definitely time to start conversations on the brother-in-law and his daughters moving on. Think about it if OP and his wife did divorce. It's no skin off the brother-in-law's nose, and he'll probably get a larger slice of the house he's mooching off. So he's fine to act in a childish and disruptive manner and not care for the consequences. And I'm not saying that he's doing it on purpose. It's just that he's got no duty of care to OP's marriage, which is probably more dangerous than the brother-in-law just being outright against it. I'm not saying kick them out right now, but definitely start making moves and starting serious conversations on the matter. Because if they're behaving like this over privacy, it can only slowly get worse as more divisions are created later on. Response 10. Not the a-hole. All teen girls don't steal each other's stuff and ruin it because they've never been taught basic respect. Only a-hole teen girls with a-hole parents who enable them to do this. They are guests in your home. You haven't adopted them. And even if you had, basic respect should be expected. Reply 1. It's going to be a wild ride when they finally piss off someone with the balls to call the cops on them. Wacky teenage hijinks are no longer a thing when you're a legal adult. Reply 2. I remember wrecking my sister's eye makeup. Not expensive, this was drugstore makeup, because I only had one brush and I used it on 2 colors. I first tried to hide it like a dumb kid, then eventually gave it back and apologized and had a screaming match with my sister before we made up. Just normal teenage sibling stuff. Leaving the pallet on the bed and not giving a crap later tells me they really didn't care and had no empathy for Zoe at all. Kids will make stupid decisions when they feel bad about something, but at least you can say they feel bad about it. Response 11, not the a-hole. Everyone's been giving me and Zoe the silent treatment, and my wife is very much upset over this. I would tell Sammy to get the hell out of my house. How are you going to stay in my home and give me the silent treatment? His daughters are 18. They are adults. Your wife can go with them. Screw that noise. Reply 1. Or take Zoe and leave. You do not have to live like this in your own house. Your wife is prioritizing her brother's family over her own. Your and Zoe's feelings are valid. You need to put your foot down even harder and tell them you are done putting up with this. Reply 2. No freaking way. That's his house, and they are guests. All of them are adults. If they don't like his rules, they can get out. Why would you allow someone to drive you out of your own house because of their behavior? Reply 3. Frankly, if my wife did this, I'd leave her. I'd hope she would do the same to me. I can't imagine siding against my child and spouse when someone is literally stealing from the child. And then to choose the silent treatment as punishment, I would not accept that. The wife here sounds terrible. Response 12. You did the right thing with the lock. You opened your home to these people and they are disrespecting you and your child. I'm sorry your wife is not on your side, but your first obligation is to protect your daughter and your home, valuables and all. It was a $60 makeup kit this time. Next time it will be worse. The cousins are not your daughters, and you don't owe any of them the right to take, use, and destroy any of your family's belongings. Hopefully they will take the hint and leave as soon as possible. But you did nothing wrong, and I hope eventually your wife will understand that. Not the a-hole. Reply 1. They had previously stolen a school laptop, according to the Post. I would consider that far, far worse. Presumably, it got returned. Reply 2. Exactly. This is not just a disrespect to the daughter, it's a blatant disrespect for him, his family, and his home. I would even go as far as imagining the brother-in-law feels entitled to stay there. Your home is your castle. You have to defend that, because if you can't be comfortable in your own home, what do you have? Response 13. Not the a-hole, but you should keep the lock on her door after they leave anyway. Teenagers deserve the right to privacy and security, and it sounds like your wife doesn't fully understand that. As long as Zoe is responsible with how she keeps her electronics tidy, fire hazard, doesn't do drugs, and doesn't have any dangerous mental health issues, she deserves that lock. Reply 1. Yep, what's not mentioned at all in I Got Zoe a Lock, and she shamed me for putting a lock on Zoe's door, is this. What does Zoe want? OP should not be dictating when the lock comes off at all. The lock on Zoe's room should stay as long as Zoe wants it to. She's old enough to have this agency, this control over her own privacy. It should not be anyone else's choice. Or she could just stop locking the room when that's what she feels is right. Reply 2. Can't believe I had to scroll this far to find this. Once a child hits puberty, they deserve a lock on the door. Reply 3. I assume he means an external lock with a key, so she can lock it when she isn't there to keep the scavengers out. She almost certainly had a Bed Bath door handle, which only locks from the inside. Reply 4. While this is likely true, my sisters and I grew up in a house where most doors didn't have locks, and we weren't allowed to lock the ones that did. While sometimes the crazy appears out of nowhere, I wouldn't be surprised if the wife's lack of understanding of boundaries had already wormed its way into the family dynamic somehow. Purely speculation, of course. Reply 5. OMG. We weren't allowed to close our bedroom doors. They had to be open if we were in there. My sicko parents wanted to see us 24/7. If they were outside and we were in our rooms, we had to have our curtains open so they could see what we were doing. Same thing with the bathroom. We could close the door to the shower, but once we were out of the shower and getting ready, the door had to be open. Response 14. Not the a-hole. They are disregarding her boundaries after repeatedly being told what these boundaries are. You have allowed her to enforce these boundaries in the only way that seems to work with them. As a female myself, I know that the makeup I use is some of the most expensive due to serious skin issues, allergies, and dermatitis. So I don't share and I've never shared my makeup. One of the quickest ways to get an infection is using someone else's eye makeup or mascara. Thank you for having your daughter's back and showing her that no, she is not being a bad person by asking for and enforcing boundaries. Response 15. Not the a-hole. The cousins aren't borrowing, they are stealing. Borrowing is when you ask permission for something and then return it in the same condition in which it was given. Saying that your daughter should not be spending so much money on makeup is just a deflection from the fact that they took her property and ruined it. As for the lock, it is not keeping cousins from spending time together because clearly they are entering the room when your daughter isn't even there. These are all deflections from the fact that his daughters are thieves. Response 16. Not the a-hole. Borrowing requires permission. They are entering her private space and removing her personal items without permission, which is the basics of breaking and entering, so your brother-in-law might want to work on their personality flaws. This is your house, and your rule is that they may not go into your daughter's room and take things. If their dad is not okay with the house rules, he's welcome to get his own home. Oh wait, please continue to stand up for your daughter. Response 17. Not the a-hole. Dude, you've been very kind and responsible. I'm no parent, but you've done right by your kid. The cousins are thieves, and you've given your daughter a peace of mind. Regarding silent treatment, they can't keep it up for long through it out, which will suck, but you two are in it together. Top quality parenting and top quality human taking in the family when they had nowhere to go. They seem to have forgotten their guests in your home. Response 18. Not the a-hole. This is not typical teenage behavior unless they have been poorly raised without learning respect for the belongings of others. If you borrow something, it is with the permission of the person who owns the item. These girls are terrible guests and should not be allowed to help themselves with anything OP's daughter has in her room. She is also a teenager who needs her privacy. OP's wife is going to destroy the marriage if she keeps putting her family of origin above the family she chose and made with OP.